Are you always coming up with ideas? Do you marvel at successful business owners? Do you hate being told what to do? Ever take things apart just to see how they work? Are you a dreamer? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Pro Tapes and Specialties is the world leader in tape manufacturing and specialty conversion with over 40 years of experience. In addition to our pro brand of high-quality specialty adhesive tapes, we provide contract converting services that help improve your profitability, streamline your supply chain, and reduce inventory cost. We offer the most complete range of converting capabilities in the industry, such as cloth tape, double-coated tape, specialty tape, paper tape, masking tape,
vinyl tape, carton sealing tape, adhesive transfer tape, duct tape, foam tape, electrical tape, filament tape, foil tape, reflective tape.
And the tape just keeps on rolling. Visit us online today at www.protapes.com or call us at 800-345-0234. Pro Tapes, it's just how we roll.
Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Entrepreneur Enclave, Life's Coming Attraction. I am your host, Kevin Wortham. Man, I've got my dear friend Rickie Clark on the phone. It is a pleasure to speak with you, brother. What's going on, brother Rickie?
What's up, bro, Kevin, man? How you doing? We ain't been together in a while. You're like a star in the sky. I might not see you, but I know you there.
Absolutely.
Love that, man. Everything's been going just fine.
The last time that you and I were together, we were in Dallas, Texas. I can't remember the year.
Yep.
And one of the things that quickly drew me to you was we were doing an entrepreneurial program. It was time for the kids to take a break, and you said, "I'll be rap black." And I thought you made a mistake, but then I realized that's who you are. That's your nature. You are pro-black. I'm like, that's my man.
Yes. That's right. You remember that, huh?
Man, like it was yesterday, beloved. Like we were at the Paul Quinn College.
Quinn College. Yes, we were at Paul Quinn College. We taught a class over there. And, Kevin, some of those kids that we work with, I was at a car wash where I was getting my car washed, and one of the brothers drove up. He was like, "Mr. Rickie, you and Mr. Kevin Worthy, y'all taught me about entrepreneurship." Man, he had T-shirts. He had all kind of stuff. Sell out the trunk of his car. He said, "Me and my brother been doing really good, man. Ever since y'all taught us that." I was like, man, he's out of Dallas. You know, I live in Fort Worth now. But I was in Fort Worth. But he's telling me he remember me and you from Paul Quinn College. And I'm like, and it was here in Fort Worth. He had a truck in his car. He had all kind of shit. I said, "No, man, I want to buy one." He was like, I can't even sell it to you, man. I could just give you one. I said, "Bro, I want to support you." "No, Mr. Rickie, you can have this. Matter of fact, take 2 shirts." Y'all the one taught me this. Buy low, sell high, keep good records. What you say? Buy low, sell high, keep good. That's what he said to me.
Wow.
So when you told me you was going to be calling, I was like, I can't wait to tell you that story. I can't tell you his name. I'd be like, his name was Daryl.
Okay.
But I didn't remember him.
And you know, the other thing, and I'm so glad that we're talking because just recently, about 2 weeks ago, right, Paul Quinn College was trying to expand into California.
Is that right?
Yeah, they were trying to open up a historical black college of Paul Quinn caliber in California. Check me to check my facts, but I believe it was Paul Quinn College.
Possibly, because they're trying to do it here in Fort Worth. They're trying to have a satellite school here in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yes.
For Paul Quinn College. What Paul Quinn just did for Dunbar High School, I think it was Dunbar and Eastern Hills, they gave away 200 scholarships from the kids from Dunbar and Eastern Hills to go to Paul Quinn College.
Wow.
Full ride.
Full ride.
200.
200. That's a blessing, man. That's wonderful.
Yes, that's over a blessing. Yeah. So it was pretty cool. And that brother's out of Chicago. He's a Kappa out of Chicago.
Who's the president of Paul Quinn?
President Paul Quinn from Chicago. Yeah.
Isn't that your hometown?
That's my hometown, born and raised. Yeah, that's my hometown. I'm here in Texas now, but that's why I brought that up. Yeah.
We're gonna get to that. But listen, man. When we first got together, I loved your energy, man. It was like magnetic, man. Magnetic. I was like, yo, this brother, and he ain't on them drugs either.
No, don't smoke, don't drink.
Oh,
don't smoke, don't drink.
Yeah.
Never had.
Oh,
yeah, I'd be like, Rick, you don't drink. I was like, no, I ain't never. When we was in high school, I said, I didn't drink in college. You didn't ever see me drinking.
You just high off of life, brother. I'm like, yo, this drug.
I love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bring us up to speed, man. That was what, 25? What, 25, 20 years ago?
20-some years ago. About 20 years ago. Yeah. So what I've been doing now within those past 20 years, I've been designing, implementing, and coordinating programs working with, I call them opportunity youth. Some people call them at-risk youth. Some people call them hard to serve. I call them opportunity youth. So I've been designing, implementing, and coordinating programs to work with opportunity youth. Wow. Currently, I'm running the MBK program. I have an initiative by Barack Obama. In 2014, Barack Obama started the MBK program.
Yes.
And so here in Fort Worth, we picked up on it. In 2016, he invited me to the White House on his way out, some of the innovative programs. So we have an innovative program here in Fort Worth. It's a recognizable program that's different because they have MBK programs throughout the country. But what's different about us is that we hire college graduates to mentor the high school students.
Yes.
We hire undergraduates and pay them $30 an hour to mentor the middle school students. And then we pay the high school students $10 an hour to read with the elementary school students. So the concept is each one reach one, each one teach one.
Yes.
What we're trying to do after going to the White House, they said that 50% of men of color drop out of high school.
Yes.
65% drop out of college after 2 years, but 78% graduate, they join a fraternity or play a sport. So we came back to start setting up fraternities in high schools and middle schools. Instead of pledging them from the Greek pledge, we pledge them, but we don't do that crazy stuff. Instead of knowing Greek terms, they have to know terms about our culture. So they get massive doses of African history and Latino history. Yes. We ask them questions like, what is MBK, my brother's keeper? When was it found? 2014. By who? Barack Obama. For what? To help young men of color transition from one life stage to another. Why do we meet in circles? Because we're all leaders. Why do we stand in V formation? We got each other's back. Why do we walk from the shortest to the tallest? Your evolution from boys to men. And then we teach them massive doses. I told you about African history, Latino history, but we also teach them entrepreneurship.
Yes.
We got a funding from the Rainwater Foundation to allow us to teach the kids entrepreneurship. And so there, the same thing me and you've been doing. We teach it from the same perspective, but we do a style of teaching that's called call and response.
Yes.
In other words, I'm going to give you the game. You just give it back to me verbatim.
Gotcha.
So when we talk to the kids and we give them the information, they got to give it back to us verbatim, word for word. Like, what's an entrepreneur? Entrepreneur is a person that take a risk of owning and operating his or her own business.
Yes.
What makes a successful entrepreneur? Buy low, sell high, keep good records. What's Keystone? It's W investment. What they call in the hood is flipping. What they call it in business, Keystone is W investment. In the hood, they call it flipping. So these are the kind of terms that we teach them that you can almost touch your kids and wake them up in their sleep. So I work with them. I'm doing stuff with a community frontline where we're doing community organizing, and I also work with Gary Ivory and YAP, which is called TCAP or YAP Youth Advocate Program. They got them all over the country.
Yes.
And I do work with them too as well. So that's what I've been doing, man.
Man, I'm tired. That's fantastic, brother. Huh?
And I've written 2 books too. I've written 2 books. My first book is What My Daddy Should Have Told Me, Life Lessons for the African American Male.
Yes.
And my newest book is called From Kindergarten to 12th Grade, Can Equal 13 Years a Slave.
Wow.
So that's what I've been doing.
Rickie, let's slow down. Let's unpack that. So your first book, tell me about your first book. What's the premise of your first book, man? Or what was the premise of your first book? So the first
book was called What My Daddy Should Have Told Me, Life Lessons for the African American Male.
Yes.
And it's written off the premises is that you don't know this, but I met my son before I met my daddy. Let me repeat that. I met my son before I met my daddy. I had a son when I was 16. I met my daddy when I was 17. Wow. I seen my daddy 28 times before he died.
Okay.
Right? But I had a lot of questions I wanted to ask him.
Yes.
And I didn't get a chance to ask him. But what was unique about it, when I met my father, I was really kind of mad at him. I really wanted to whoop him, to tell you the truth. But when I met my father, come to find out that he didn't know his daddy. And I asked him, well, when did you meet your dad? He said he didn't meet his dad until he was 21. And I said, well, what did you do? He said, I wanted to kill his ass. He said it just like that. Excuse me, I know we on the radio. He said, I wanted to kill his ass. He said, I wanted to kill his ass. I said, well, what happened? He said, we got drunk together. I said, you got drunk together? He said, yeah. I said, well, what do you mean y'all got drunk together? Come to find out that he didn't know his dad. And so in that conversation, it made me think about what are things I can do to share with my kids. So
Yes.
if you don't know, I've raised 5 boys as a single parent.
Yes.
Right? Only 2 of my biological sons. The other 3 boys I took into my house and raised them.
Yes.
Right? And if you look at them, you don't know which one is which because they say when you start feeding them, they look like you.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've done something that I hadn't done. So I was doing that. And so I decided to write the book when my father died.
Okay.
And in the book, it has a topic is some of the topics in the book is child support. Because when I graduated from college, I had school loans plus child support and back taxes. Right?
Wow.
So that was nobody ever taught me anything. I didn't get my first checking account until I graduated from college. I had never been into a bank until I graduated from college.
Wow.
You hear what I did?
Yes, sir.
I'd never been in a bank until I graduated from college.
Yes.
So I wrote about those experiences. I wrote about what to do when stopped by the police. I wrote about child support. I wrote about college. I wrote about manhood. And my favorite chapter of the book is chapter 8.
Yes.
In chapter 8, you get a chance to interview your father.
Okay.
So you get to ask your father questions like, when did you man up?
Yes.
What are some of the things you want to leave for your grandchildren? Because he didn't tell me what he wanted to say to my grandkids.
Yes.
I didn't get a chance to ask him. What would you want for my grandkids? What would you have said to my grandkids? So in the book, it asks questions like that. But my favorite question is question number 21. And it says, did you love my mama when I was born?
Oh, wow. That's powerful.
So those are the questions that are asked in the book.
Yes.
And sometimes when I meet these young people in the community, like, oh, I don't know my dad, I was like, and I told them the same thing about my daddy.
Yes.
But what I found out is that fathers are not perfect. They proficient.
Yes.
Proficient meaning I can only give you what I have.
Yes.
Right? And my own son asked me, it's like, Daddy, how'd you just leave Chicago and come down here? I just wanted more for my children than I did for myself.
Yes.
That's how I explain that. So
Wow.
how did you know to do this? How did you know that? I didn't know. I just knew I wanted more for my sons, a better relationship for my sons than I had with my daddy.
Yes.
And so that's why I wrote the book. And it's doing really well. So now I do workshops on male socialization. One of the questions we ask is, what's a man? So if I would ask you or 10 other people, we'll get several answers of what a man is.
Yes.
But I define man as a male who act, think, and live responsible. Anytime you're not acting, thinking, and living responsible, just a boy masquerading as a man.
Yes.
Doesn't make how many kids you have, how much drink you drink, how much smoke you smoke. Well, it'll make none of those. If you're not acting, thinking, and living responsible, you're just a boy masquerading as a man. And in the book, it says in order to be a man, you got to see a man. So those are some of the things that we talk about in the book. And it's doing pretty well.
Just like we are in Paul Quinn College again, man. I love it. I love it. So now, when I follow you on Facebook, right, I'm noticing that you're going back and forth between Dallas and Chicago. So you still have a connection to Chicago. How often do you go back to Chicago?
Oh, yeah. My family's still there. You know, my mother passed.
Yeah, sorry to
my
hear
brother
that.
passed.
Yes.
All of them gone, but our sister's there. But I have a new book out that's entitled From Kindergarten to 12th Grade Can't Equal 13 Years a Slave. So not only are you seeing me fly to Chicago, Miami, New Orleans, California.
Yes.
I've been promoting my book.
Okay.
And so I'll go to some of the CUBE conferences. CUBE stands for Council of Urban Schools. I'll go to NASB. I'll go to National Association of Black School Board Administrators. Yes. And then I'm traveling back and forth and speaking engagements. So normally I'm at work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'll leave out Thursday and lecture Friday, Saturday, come back Sunday, and then I use Monday for rest.
Gotcha.
But I've been doing that now for quite some time. And then when we had the pandemic, it slowed down. So if you was in Chicago, the last time I went to Zion, Illinois to be the keynote speaker for Black Lives Matter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I know they got a full-blown taste of you, brother. Wow.
Oh, yeah. And we can talk a little bit more about the other book if you like to.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other book that I have is called From Kindergarten to 12th Grade.
Yes. Can't
Equal 13 Years a Slave. I'm a part of the Racial Equity and Excellence Department here in Fort Worth. That's who fund my program.
Yes.
So I wrote that book because it started at the White House. When he was in the White House, the head of the economic department, I forgot his Secretary of Education was there, and Barack was in the room too. And I asked the question. I said, can you name a book from kindergarten to 12th grade that is required reading that speaks positive about people of color? What would be your response if I asked that question? I'm asking the question. Can you think of a book, Kevin, from kindergarten to 12th grade that's required reading that speaks positive about people of color? What would you say?
I couldn't think of one off the tip of my tongue.
And that's the same thing they said. They couldn't think of one. And then my next question I asked is, can you name a time when black people were not enslaved and in power? I'll wait. No, I'm asking a question.
Yeah. And again, I couldn't think of one off the tip of my tongue.
So that's why I wrote the book.
Yeah.
So I'm at the White House. I asked that question. They couldn't respond to that.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to these CUBE conferences. I'm going to, because I'm working with these education, and I'm asking them, wait a minute, the same question I just asked you. So you the superintendent of the school.
Yes.
Or you the president of the college.
Yes.
And I'm asking you, can you name a book from kindergarten to 12th grade? And their response is no. And then I ask them, well, can you name a time when black people are not enslaved and empowered? The answer is no. But here's the next question I ask. You ready, Jeff?
I'm ready.
What do you tell your children when your children come and ask you, Daddy, Nemo, Pawpaw, tell me a time when black people were not enslaved and empowered? What would you tell your own children?
Son, time for some ice cream.
Right, you really don't know what to say.
You don't know what to say.
About that?
Yeah. No, that's.
And sometimes we'll laugh about it, but let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
But you can't answer the question because then the next question is, how does that feel?
Yeah.
That don't feel too good, do it?
Not at all.
Damn somebody else's kids. I'm talking about your own kids.
Yes.
What do I tell my children? And when they come to ask me, Nemo, Pawpaw, tell me a time when black people are not enslaved and empowered. And we can't share it with our children. That's not a good experience.
No.
But most of us are Christians. And I ask them, I say, well, then there is a time when black people are not enslaved and empowered. They're like, when? I say, I'm glad you asked.
Okay.
Nobody begins their history in slavery.
Yes.
So I wrote the book because all of us begin our history in slavery.
Interesting.
Nobody begins their history in slavery, so there is a time.
Yes.
If you go back to ancient Kemet, and I didn't say Egypt because the original name of Egypt is Kemet.
Yes.
And it literally means land of the blacks.
Got you.
So when we started writing, there were no white people there. When we invented writing, there were no white people there.
Yes.
When we invented math, there were no white people there. When we built the pyramids, there were no white people there.
Yes.
When we talked about the first university, there were no white people there.
Yes.
So we taught the world reading, or the first style of writing is called hieroglyphics. Am I right?
Very true. Yep.
Well, who did the writing and who did the reading?
We did.
That's so there's a time.
Yes.
Then I say the question for Christians. In the Bible, God told the angel to tell Joseph and Mary to take my son to Egypt and hide him there because Herod trying to kill him. They say, yeah. Well, Rickie, what they got to do with it? I say, well, God said, take my son to Kemet.
Yes.
When he got there, you think he seen the pyramids? He said, well, I don't know. I said, the pyramids were built. She said, well, how you know? I said, because in the Old Testament, they were building the pyramids.
Yes.
Doing Moses' time.
Mm-hmm.
So in the New Testament, the pyramids are already built.
Yes.
So Jesus had to see the pyramids. Well, listen to this. When we went to school, Kevin, you went to college, I went to college.
Yes.
In college, the first civilized white people, who? The Greeks and the Romans.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's what we've been
told.
told.
They don't come on. Well, no, that's a fact.
Okay.
But they don't come on the scene till 30 BC.
Okay.
They don't come on the scene at 30 BC.
Got you.
Wait a minute, Rickie, what do you mean? Well, the university was already there. The books were already there. The language was already there. The county was already there. The calendar was already there. The system, it was already there.
Yes.
The first university was called the Grand Lodge of Watts. They taught 4 subjects: religion, applied science, liberal arts, and business. There were no other schools in the world. If you wanted to be educated, you had to come to Egypt.
Wow.
Ain't that deep? And now that I said it to you, sitting there saying, wow,
yeah.
You never even thought about it.
Never thought about that.
But the second thing is you didn't question it either. Can I tell you why you didn't question it?
Well, I mean, I didn't question it because it's coming from you. I trust you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But better yet, you can feel the truth when you hear it.
Yes.
You're like, wait a minute. He's right about that. I never thought about it that way.
Yes.
But Rick, you're right. So in that book, I began to teach the people that, and I began to tell them, share with them. Let me give you something that's fascinating. Did you know that Africa is the only continent that don't float on water? Did you hear what I just said?
Yeah.
But I need to explain it to you though, right?
Yes, you do.
In other words, Africa is the only continent that's rooted to the core of the earth. When we had the Pangea or the continental drift, all the continents broke apart, right?
Yes.
If I had an apple in my hand and I got the apple, you take a bite, she take a bite, I still got what left in my hand, the core.
Yes.
So all of them broke from it. There are 34 natural resources in the world, 28 of them in Africa. Let me repeat that. There are 34 natural resources in the world, 28 of them in Africa. Africa is the only continent that is still rooted to the core of the earth. You can't get diamonds nowhere else. You can't get gold nowhere else. You can't get rubies nowhere else. You can't even get coltan nowhere else. And the most precious mineral we have in the world right now is not diamond, it's not oil, and it's not gold. It's coltan. You're asking what is coltan?
Yes.
Coltan is used to make flat screens, computers. Anything with the computers, you got to have coltan. It's like a little black rock that's used to keep the computers and everything cool. Yes. And the only place you can get it in the world is in Africa, in the Congo. They used to have some in Australia, but the only place in the world to get it is there. Another fact is that the pyramid sits in the center of the earth. That means if you took a rocket ship to the moon and came back, the first thing you'll see is the pyramid. It's in the center of the earth. 48 stories high, 755 feet wide, taking 2,300,000 stones to build. Each stone weighed 3 tons or more, and the chief architect is Imhotep. I have a degree in mathematics, and they told me that Pythagoras is the father of math and Euclid is the father of geometry. Well, that's a lie. Well, how do you know that's a lie? Because they can't build a pyramid. How the hell are you going to be the father of math and the father of geometry, and you can't build a pyramid?
Yes.
So they told me that they told me that but that was his name, Hippocrates, the first doctor.
Yes.
Well, the first doctor is Imhotep. They did the first surgery. They did the first brain surgery. Said, Rickie, how do you know they did the first brain surgery? Well, because they got mummies. In order to be a mummy, you got to take the brains through the nose.
Yes. In
order to be a mummy, you got to take out every vital part except the heart, and they put them in a jar. We were doing surgery way back then. Wow. Writing prescriptions way back then. You ever heard of the stethoscope? We invented the stethoscope. You ever heard of shears? Yes. We invented the shears. You ever heard of prescriptions? We invented the prescriptions. So when you hear these things and you aligning yourself with, you're like, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me well, first university, first style of writing, we invented the first style of writing. If you think about anything you can think of, we did it first.
Yes.
But nobody ever says that. So when you go talk to your children or your grandchildren, Kevin, the first thing you have to say is, we taught the world didn't teach us.
Yes. Wow.
That's what's in my book. And in the book, I gave 50 books you should read, 50 documents you should watch, and 50 questions to answers that you should know. Yes. For an example, the original name of Africa is Alkebulan, and it literally means Garden of Eden or Mother Earth. And everything I talk about, I tell them, you ain't got to have no faith in this. You don't need faith when you got facts.
Yes.
The fact is, you can Google it. Look on the back of your phone. In the Garden of Eden, there were 2 people, Adam and Eve. They said they can eat from any tree except the tree of knowledge, which we call the apple tree. Look at the back of the iPhone. The apple been bit. So you can ask Siri, what's the original name of Africa? Alkebulan. What's the original name of Egypt? Kemet. They messed up 2 ways with DNA and World Wide Web.
Yes.
I'll stop right there. You may have a question.
Brother, man, I'm excited. You know, oh my God, I feel like one of your students. I'm like dripping with excitement and because I'm walking away with something, brother. Thank you, man.
That's what we
Rickie,
teach our children, man.
Yes,
that's what we teach our children. You can talk to my grandson; he's 8 years old. My granddaughter, 7 years old. She can respond to all those questions verbatim. Because here's why I am, Kevin.
Yes,
if they can learn a rap song, they can learn entrepreneurship, and they can learn about their history.
Absolutely.
It's how we teach the kids.
Yes.
You got to meet them where you are, not where you want them to be.
Yes.
Right? So I'll show up in the classroom. I may have on a Brooks Brothers suit, but I got a pair of Air Force Ones.
Got
right?
you.
So you think about that. So you got to meet them there. And I'll come in there and I'll say a rap song like, what's my man, Moneybag? I took a look at my wrist. I got time today. I'm crossing the line today. They hate me real, the love me fake. They bumping them guns, they bumping them tapes. Don't go against me, then ask me for help. Get out of your feelings and get it yourself. They be like, how you know that? Oh, he cool. Now I got their attention. I'm going to put the rest of the song. Yeah. I just know that part.
Got you.
But now I got their attention. Kevin. And once you get their attention, you can teach them anything.
Absolutely.
Well, how do you know, Rickie? Because this rap is teaching them anything.
Yes.
The foolishness, the stuff they hear on the song, they'd never heard that. I don't even let my granddaughters hear none of that stuff because if I'm sucking on a lollipop at 3rd grade, what am I doing as an adult?
Yes.
Like a lollipop. Think of the song. Think of the words. So garbage in, garbage out.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so if we going in, so now, during this part of the year is when I teach entrepreneurship.
Yes.
The last 6 weeks of school, sometimes the last 8 weeks, the guys say, well, why do you always doing around that time? I say, because now it's time for the kids to get out. Yes. They're going to need some money in their pocket. I don't want them doing no foolishness. So I teach them how to own and operate their own business at a young time. Now they can sell, and I tell them that the only thing free in America is free enterprise.
Yes.
You can sell Zuzus and Wham Whams. You can sell anything. The only thing free in America is free enterprise. Everything else, you got to put some work in it, some sweat in it. But
yes,
you can sell anything.
Yes, sir.
So that's the kind of stuff that I want to do. That's what I'm encouraged to do. I love doing this work. I've mastered it so well that when I go in the classroom, I don't have a nifty book.
Yes.
Kevin, we've been doing this for so long, we don't need a curriculum in our hands.
Yeah.
We are the curriculum.
Absolutely.
You're like, well, Rick, how did you put that up there? And I said, well, you got to meet the kids where they are.
Yes.
Why am I going to tell them that definition when they don't know this one? He said, well, what do you do? So one of my teaching styles is called call and response.
Yes.
So I'll walk into the classroom. I don't care what subject it is. But basically it's history, math, but I can do it in any subject.
Yes.
So you go in there, give me the curriculum, tell me what it is. The first thing I'm going to do is make them master the vocabulary.
Yes.
Once they master the vocabulary, you give them the book, they can do any damn thing in the book.
Yes.
Because they know what it is now. Well, how they know, Ricky? Because they memorized it.
Yes.
You follow what I'm saying?
I'm with you,
it's
brother.
definition.
Yes.
What is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is a person who takes a risk of owning and operating his own business.
Yes.
What makes a successful entrepreneur? Buy low, sell high, keep good record.
Yes,
How
sir.
many types of business? 4 parts of business.
Yes.
Manufacture, wholesale, retail, service. What does the manufacturer do? Makes the part, sell it to the wholesaler. Wholesaler sells it to the retailer. Retailer sells it to the consumer. Who number consumer in the world? Black people and young people. Why? Because we don't manufacture a damn thing. We just buying. So that's why we talking.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's why I teach.
Yes.
Like the energy you hear me right now, this is the energy I'm giving them. And I'll be quiet with this because what I understand is that nowadays you have to be edutainment, not entertainment, not education. You got to edutain.
Yes.
What do you mean, Rick? You got to entertain them while you educate them.
Yes.
Because they mind don't stay that long. They do YouTubes and TikTok. You ain't got them but 3 minutes. After that 3-4 minutes, they out of there.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing you can do after that. So
Rick,
get their attention, hold their attention, and you got them.
Ricky, man, I miss you. I love you, man. This
I
has
miss
been
you too, man.
Yo, I'm like, I knew there was a reason why I needed to track you. You know what? We were trying, I don't know what happened, but I think last year during the pandemic.
Before COVID, it was 2 years ago. It was right before the pandemic. You had called me about some entrepreneur initiatives or what we can do to bring down here, and everything just fell apart.
Yes.
And, you know, I was working with Mr. Nelson. We don't work together anymore, but I was working with Mr. Nelson at the time.
Okay.
He's doing something different, totally different.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So it is, you know, like they say, all good things come to those who wait. I waited almost 2 years to talk to you. Not disappointed,
Kevin,
brother. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Well, thank you. If there's anything I can do, let me know, man. I'm here for you. Like I mentioned when I got on the phone.
Yes.
To me, you like a star in the sky. I might not see you, but I know you there.
That's what I love,
So
brother.
I want you to know that about me. Just reach out to me, and our relationship has not changed. The same way it was when I met you is how I feel about you now.
I appreciate that. So listen.
Anything I can do.
Listen. So with the time we have left, though, I want you to give me the titles of both books, how people can get those books, and how people can reach you or follow you.
Okay. So the title of the books, and I'm going to send it to you too.
Yes.
But the title of the book is called What My Father Should Have Told Me.
Yes.
Life Lessons for the African American Male.
Yes.
That's the first book. And the second book is From Kindergarten to 12th Grade, and they are on YouTube. You can actually get them on YouTube.
Okay.
I mean YouTube. I'm not YouTube. I mean Amazon.
Amazon. I got you.
You get it from Amazon. I'm talking about YouTube. You can get it from Amazon.
Yes.
And if you go to Amazon, you can look it up, and they will just pull my name up and Rickie Clark, and you'll see the books. They've been selling really well. But you can also contact me at RickieClark.com. That's my webpage.
Yes.
Or RickieClarkStep@gmail.com.
Yes.
Let me repeat that. That's RickieClark STEP@gmail.com. And STEP stands for Strategy to Elevate People of Color. So I have a nonprofit called STEP, Strategy to Elevate People of Color. My number is 817-448-2787. Let me repeat that.
Yes.
817-448-2787. Contact me. I'm available. I don't mind traveling. What I tell people is that if you can get the person to buy the book to pay for my flight and a place to sleep, I'm satisfied. So I normally give me 35 to 40 people that buy a book. That's enough money to pay for the plane.
Yes.
Flies me down. I come by, speak, get on the airplane, fly back the next day or the next 2 days.
Gotcha.
I'm not even trying to hit them in the head, man. Leave them dead. I want to get this information out there. So if you're listening, audience, I have a PowerPoint presentation that I do that I promise you wouldn't be disappointed.
Yes.
And I also offer trainings for male socialization, violence prevention. Contact me. We'd love to help.
Yeah, because let me just take like 3 more minutes, right? So
okay,
I'm working on some things, because here's what's happening on my end with the podcast, right? I'm reaching out to so many current and former entrepreneurs. What I would love to do is a Zoom workshop and give each one of my guests like 15, 20 minutes to tell the listening audience something about themselves and to kind of compartmentalize that as to them telling us what should be the next steps. Should it be a larger workshop? Should it be a conference? Or should it be some in-person classes going on? So I want to keep in touch with you regarding that. But the next
Let's go for it, man.
Yeah, the next thing too is there should be a huge calling for your services around the prevention. Listen to what I said, around the prevention of helping our black men pick and choose another career as opposed to shooting and hurting one another. But
I agree.
But what we find ourselves doing now is we're spending all this time doing these programs to teach you how to grieve, to get the parents to grieve, to come together. No, let's stop the grieving. Let's spend more time talking about prevention and giving our young folks, particularly the black men, opportunities that they can pursue.
I call it opportunity use.
Yes.
And that's what I mean by that.
Yes.
Because if you speak poverty, you talk poverty, you're going to stay in poverty.
Yes.
And I'm not saying these things ain't happen. They did happen to us, and we will acknowledge that, but you have to move beyond that.
Yes.
And so I'm not opposed to recognizing the trauma. My question is what you going to do based on the trauma.
Yes.
So I'm not opposed to that, because you got to meet people where they are. So they have to recognize what they've gone through, and now what can they do from here to move forward.
Absolutely.
So I believe we need to have more programs focusing on opportunities for them, right?
Yes.
But even when you say that, Kevin, what kind of opportunities? What I'm thinking is, when we going to be owning our own businesses? The first 5 invaders of Africa were Asians, Arabs, Greeks, Romans, and Northern Europeans, in that order.
Yes.
And in that, they control our water and our food. In our communities right now, who owns the gas station and the convenience store?
Not us.
Same thing. And I'm not mad at Asians. I'm not mad at Arabs. They did what they were supposed to do. But we should be doing those things.
Yes.
Oh, it's a black community? Then why don't the black community run it?
Yeah.
If it's a black community, why are we not owning the banks? Why we not run? We got to own the bank, but the black manager. If you're a CBS, how come you don't have a black manager? If you're a Kroger's, how come you don't? Any things like that.
Yes.
So we can teach our kids, stop that illusion of inclusion. Just build our own stuff, and they will come.
Yes.
We need to build our own stuff, and they'll come, because there's a saying: if you're not at the table, then you on the menu.
Yeah.
So we ain't got to play no games with that.
Yeah.
Kevin, I'm down for that. Let's build some initiatives around us doing the work when we met.
Yes.
That's how we met about entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
And the last thing I would say is this. We got to quit coming with these damn policies, excuse me for saying damn, coming with these different programs, bringing people to these impoverished communities, empower the people, but you don't empower the people. What I mean by that, you got the funds and the money to go in there, but you empower it. But the people you working for ain't empowered. Now the program ends. You go into another community like poverty pimps.
Yes.
Are they paying you $106,000, but nobody else in the community getting paid?
Yes.
But you.
Yeah.
They need to stop that. They need to stop that. If you're going to bring it, you empower the people. That means going there, hire the people, train the people, and when we leave, they still doing the work once we gone.
I love it, yes.
So, Kevin, like me and you did, we went into went into Paul Quinn, but we went to the neighborhoods, the housing communities.
Yes.
Empower the people, and they can do the work.
Yes.
But we go in there and get the money and don't empower the people. That's not smart.
Yes.
I don't like that. So that's the kind of work I want to do. Empower the people.
Absolutely. Ricky, yo, let's stay connected, brother. This was fantastic.
All right.
Man.
I appreciate it,
Yeah, I appreciate you. This was fire.
It's what you wanted, right? But you anticipated that with us anyway.
No, this is not what I wanted. I love it, brother. That's why I called you. Yes, sir.
I got you, man. I'm speaking today over at, I'm preparing to leave. That's why I'm in the car right now. I'm headed to TCU.
Okay.
Speaking in their CREST class, Critical Race and Ethic Theories. And my topic today is based on my book. Okay. So Thank you for calling me, man. I appreciate it. If anything I can do, you keep me posted.
Yeah, well,
all right.
Well, what I want you to do, man, before I do my sign off, my signature sign off, just give the listening audience your contact information again.
Okay, again, that's Rickie Clark, yes. RICKIE CLARK.
Yes.
And that's the same thing for my webpage, RickieClark.com.
Yes.
And you can also go to RickieClarkStep@gmail.com. And my phone number is 817-448-2787. But I also want to leave y'all with a poem, if that's okay with you.
Come on,
all right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the name of this poem is called Two Sets of Notes. And it's from M.K. Asante, a little young guy who used to get in trouble all the time. And they sent him to an alternative school. And he wrote this poem called Two Sets of Notes. And I quote, it says, sometimes I feel like I'm above the ground and the ceiling in institutions that disengage in healing. Instead, open warp wounds trap me in rooms consumed with hypocrisy. But it occurs to me that Greek philosophers didn't author their own philosophy. Statues on campus be watching me. Washington, Jefferson, Williams clocking me to say, Negro, your time is up. But I don't run laps around tracks, run laps around scholars of tomorrow because new school of thought is merely our history borrowed. They label me militant, black national radical, trying to put my learning process on sabbatical. But I don't apologize for the truth to the whites of their eyes affected by white lies. They even try to get me to see their point of view by a brother that looks like me. Their brother don't walk like me, talk like me, or act like me. He would turn his head and ran when I asked if he was black like me. Memorizing their thoughts and forgetting our own and wonder why we always feel alone. From the media to academia, hanging our brothers like coats. And in they schools always take two sets of notes. One set to ace the test and one set I call the truth. And when I find historical contradiction, I use the first set as proof. Proof that our youth minds are being polluted, convoluted, diluted, not culturally rooted in anything except Western massacre. Most of us are scared of Africa. We view our mother's land through the eyes of David Ham and Emmanuel Can. But Emmanuel can't tell me about a land he never seen, a land rich with history, beautiful kings and queens. But they'll have you to believe otherwise. The history is built off high-rise lies. The pyramids were complete before Rome or Greece were conceptualized. And then they'll claim that the Egyptian race is a mystery. You tell them, read, he wrote this book too. It's their history. It can't get any clearer. Young people, look in the mirror. We are the reflection of divinity. Don't be fooled by selective memory. Walk high and listen to the elders who spoke. Young people always take two sets of notes. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
Brother Rickie, always a pleasure on the platform. Thank you, man. Let's talk and text later on. Beautiful poem. Thank you, man.
All right. Call me Black. Talk to you later.
I'll call you Black. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir, man.
10-4.
Yes, sir. Peace out.
That concludes another episode of The Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. We hope you found this episode informative and enlightening. If you have any questions or comments about any of our episodes, please call 609-731-9311 or email kevin@minding-our-business.com. We look forward to joining us for our next one. Until next time.